In this session of Tech Talks, we explain the data layouts that are used to display Dragonfly data throughout the application. Every time you see data displayed in a table or report, there is a layout behind it to define what is seen. A layout is basically a set of database columns in a defined sequence with defined column widths and headings. They control how data is displayed on the screen, how it is searched and filtered, and how reports are created. If you aren't familiar with the concept of database tables, columns, and relationships, we suggest you watch the Tech Talk on data storage before continuing. To see how layouts are defined, we'll open the Column Layout Designer. The list at the left contains a folder for each of the application's functional modules. When we expand one of these folders, we see a subfolder for each of the forms in that module. When a form folder is expanded, we see a folder for each type of layout that exists for that form. We'll start with the basics shared by all the layout types, and then explore each type in a little more detail. When you expand a layout folder, you will see a list of the layouts of that type. Click on a layout to load it into the layout editor. The available columns list starts with a folder containing all the columns in the layout's base data table. Click on each column that you want to use in the layout, and the item will appear with a check mark. Click the item again to remove it from the layout. The list of columns that you have selected appear in the Selected Columns list. You can change the order that the columns will appear by dragging an item to a new position on the Selected Columns list. All of the tables related to the main table appear as folders below the column list. If you want to include data from a related table in your layout, expand the folder for the related table, and select one or more columns from the related table. In some cases, a related table may contain multiple rows for each row in the main table. For example, the customer sales table will have a record for each sale made to the selected customer. These are referred to as one-to-many relationships and are denoted by a star on the related table folder. Each related table also has its own list of related tables, allowing you to daisy-chain several tables to get all the columns you need for the layout. When you click on a column in the Selected Columns list, its properties are shown in the Column Settings section at the right side of the form. The default heading for this column will appear in the Column Heading field, but you can change that heading if you like. The Width field defines the width of the column as will appear on the screen, in pixels. In some cases, you may wish to include a column for completeness, but not display it to users. In these cases, uncheck the visible checkbox to hide it from view. You can define a default sort order for the layout using the Sort Order grid. Select the column to sort on from the column drop-down list. This list contains all the columns you have selected for the layout. By default, sorting is done in the direction of ascending values. To change the sorting to descending order, check the box in the descending column. You can sort by more than one column if you like. To insert another sort column above an existing column in the sort list, click the plus button. To remove a column from the sort list, click the X button. To preview how the layout will look when it is used, click the Preview button at the top of the form. The first 10 records for the layout will be displayed in the Preview grid at the bottom of the form. The Preview grid is a great place to change the width of the columns. Drag the left or right border of a column in the header row to change the width of the column. If you want, you can predefine filters for the layout. Click on the Filters button to open the Filter Builder form. If you want a filter to be applied by default whenever the layout is used, click the checkbox labeled Use as Default Filter. Filters for the layout can also be added or edited later from the forms where the layout is used. Watch the Tech Talk on data filters for more information on creating filters. Now we'll look at the individual layout types. The Browse/Edit data layouts contain a full set of all the columns for the main data table for that form. These must contain all the columns in the main table, but can also include columns from other tables. The Filter/Search layouts define which columns can be searched, and which columns are displayed in the search results. When you search for data on a form, you can search in any of the columns listed in this layout. But to keep the search results to a usable width, you can hide some of the columns from the search results table by unchecking the visible checkbox. If you check the Simple Search box, the column will be displayed when the user clicks the Simple Search button on the form. Watch the Tech Talk on fast and simple searches for more details. The Type Ahead layouts define the columns that are searched when the user types into the Fast Search field on a form. As the user types into this field, or uses the scanner to enter a value, the application will search for matches in all the columns you include in the type ahead layout. Keep in mind that if you add too many columns to these layouts, it may slow down the performance of the searches. Some forms, like the point of sale form, contain data grids to display lists of data. These layouts go in the form grid folder. The receipts and labels layouts define the columns that are available to be used when designing receipts and labels for the base table. Import layouts allow you to import data from vendors or other sources. You define a layout to match the columns in the CSV file that you wish to import. Export layouts allow you to export data from the layout. The export will create a CSV file containing each of the columns in the layout. Because there are so many layouts used in Dragonfly, it can sometimes be difficult to find a layout for a particular form. When you are viewing a data grid and you want to view or change the layout that defines that grid, click anywhere in the grid, then hold down the Control key and click the tilde key in the upper left corner of the keyboard. This will give you the option of opening the column layout designer for the layout that defines the grid.